Hello everyone, how are you doing? I hope that you are doing so very well. I haven't really talked about this much, but I am going to Hawaii at the end of this month with my family. I'm so excited. I've actually been to Hawaii once before. I have a lot of really pretty video footage that hasn't yet made it onto my channel, even though it's almost been 3 years. But I thought that it would be fun if you guys picked my TBR for my vacation. I'm planning to take 3 physical books on vacation as well as my Kindle. So I'm just gonna have you pick some books from some sets of books. It will all be done through the poll function, which is something you can access on the app or through the desktop website. So if you're watching this somewhere else, you may not be able to see the poll, but feel free to leave your votes in the comments if you want to vote. For my first category, I have fluffy-ish contemporaries. I don't say fluffy as a comment on their substance. It's just a book that's meant to make you feel good, which mostly falls in the romance category. First up in this category is From Twinkle with Love by Sandhya Menon. This book is about Twinkle, who is an aspiring filmmaker, and when Sahil invites her to be part of this film festival, she jumps aboard. She's like, yes, this is for me. While they're filming, she starts emailing back and forth with N, who she believes is Sahil's twin brother. She starts falling for him, but she's also falling for Sahil, who will win in this love triangle of death. Okay, not death, just a love triangle. I really enjoyed When Dimple Met Rishi, so I think I would enjoy this as well. Next up is My Oxford Year by Julia Whelan. This book follows Ella, and she is an American spending a year in Oxford studying, as you might imagine. She runs into this guy who completely ruins her first day, and then finds out that he is her English professor. Then they meet for drinks, have a connection, they end up starting to have a casual fling, and then some stuff starts happening that throws a wrench in their relationship, as with all romance novels. One of my all-time favorite books that is extremely cheesy is about an American who spends a year in Oxford, so this is like a dream book for me. Third is Love and Luck by Jenna Evans Welch. This book is about Addie, who is visiting Ireland for her aunt's wedding. She just had something super heartbreaking happen to her, and her brother is getting on her last nerve. Then she finds this book called Ireland for the Heartbroken and ends up on an adventure with Ian and his really cute Irish friend, Rowan. This book sounds adorable, and I really enjoyed Love and Gelato by Jenna Evans Welch, so choice number 3. And last in this category is The Geography of Lost Things by Jessica Brody. This book is about Allie, whose father dies and leaves her his prized car, his convertible. She doesn't want to keep it, she doesn't want anything to do with him, and she finds a buyer that is 300 miles away, but she doesn't know how to drive a stick shift. Coincidentally, her ex-boyfriend does, so she enlists him to help her drive this car to the buyer. The trip starts off rough, but then gets better and better and starts leading her to some things about her father that she never knew. This is an arc of a book that came out October of last year. Really should have read it a while ago. So it's the last book to complete this specific poll. I'll leave the poll up right now. You can vote for that first category before we move on to the second category, which is fantasy/dystopian. Last chance for the poll, and we're moving on. First up in the fantasy/dystopian category is Flamecaster by Cinda Williams Chima. This book follows Ash and Jenna. Ash is the son of the queen, who is currently in hiding because there's been a series of murders, and he's determined to kill the person responsible, aka the King of Arden. Jenna was born with a mage mark. She ends up going on the run because the King's Guard is after someone with a mark like hers. Her and Ash cross paths, and then stuff happens. I'm sure they save the world somehow. This is a fantasy novel after all. This is set in the Seven Realms universe, but a generation later, and I loved the Seven Realms series. Second is The Gauntlet by Karuna Riazi. This is about 12-year-old Farah who discovers this game called The Gauntlet, and it is a magical game, and so she ends up playing with some of her friends, and I'm sure a lot happens. I know it's kind of like a Jumanji type book, which is what piqued my interest originally, and why it is number 2 on the poll. Next up is Renegades by Marissa Meyer. This is about a future-ish world where society has crumbled and out of the ashes has risen the Renegades, aka a group of humans with superpowers basically. They overthrew the villains, they establish peace, everything is great in their world. The only people who hate them are the villains. Nova is sent on a mission to destroy them by a very powerful villain, but then she meets Adrian, who is a Renegade's boy, and I'm sure some romancy stuff happens there. I've heard Emma from Emma Books talk about this book so much and she loves it, and all of her love for it has made me want to read it. And in the number 4 spot is Nevermore, The Trials of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend. This is about a girl named Morrigan who is cursed. Everybody in her town blames her for every single thing that goes wrong, and the biggest curse of all is that she's supposed to die when she turns 11. Instead of dying on her 11th birthday, she is whisked away to the city of Nevermore. When she gets there, she finds out she has to compete for a spot in this society against a bunch of other children, and if she doesn't win, then she's thrown out of the city. I have heard so many good things about this book. So many people just haven't shut up about it, and so I have been meaning to read it, and I haven't yet, so here we are. Now is your time to place your vote in the second poll. Pick from these 4 books in the fantasy / dystopian section. After this, we're moving on to some fiction books, some literary fiction, basically some fiction that is not light and fluffy contemporaries. Last chance to vote in the poll. Moving on. First up is What Lies Between Us by Naomi Munaweera. This is about Ganga, who is a girl who lives in Sri Lanka, and whenever she is younger, she goes through something super traumatic, and as a result is ostracized from her entire village. Because of that, her and her mother have to move to the United States, and as she grows up, she learns a lot, she heals a lot from that situation, and then she meets a man named Daniel, starts falling in love with him, and then things start bubbling to the surface, start coming back, and the end of the synopsis of this says this is her confession. So obviously some stuff went down. Joss from Squibbles Reads read this last year, and I was so intrigued, so here we are. Next up is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. This book is about Elena and Mia. Elena is from a town where everything is very orderly, and she fits into that, and then Mia and her daughter move into a house that Elena rents, and they are a lot different from all of the people that they know. They're not very orderly, they're a little bit exciting, and Elena's children end up being very enthralled by her and her daughter. Elena and Mia end up on opposite sides of this custody battle that is happening to friends of Elena's, and Elena is determined to find out what Mia knows, why she's there, and I'm sure that causes a lot of problems. Everybody that has read this book loves this book, so I am excited to read it. Next up is Jellicoe Road by Melina Marchetta. This book follows Taylor, who was abandoned by her mother and then sent to boarding school. When she tried to run away, she was brought back by some mysterious person. Now she's 17, she's the leader of a group called the Townies at her school. They're about to enter a turf war, and one of the only adults that she trusts disappears. They left some clues behind, so she spends the book trying to follow those clues and figure out what happened. I don't really know a lot more than that. I just know that people love this book, so it made the poll. And last is A Very Large Expanse of Sea by Tahara Mafi. This book is about Shirin, who is a Muslim girl living in a post 9/11 New York City. She's dealing with the prejudice and racism that happens, and to escape everything that she's going through, she breakdances. Then she meets Ocean, and things start happening of the romance variety. This one didn't go in fluffy contemporaries because it deals with some really heavy issues, even though it is a romance. But again, everybody really likes this book, so I'm excited to read it. I love Tahara's writing. And now's your time to pick from the poll. Which book do you want to pick for me? Yeah. Next up, we're doing a Kindle head-to-head. I have 6 books total, split up into 3 different categories, so you're just gonna pick one book from each category for me. Kindle head-to-head. First up, in fantasy, we have A Touch of Gold versus Grave Mercy. A Touch of Gold by Annie Sullivan is about the Princess Cora. She is King Midas's daughter. He has given up his touch of gold, but she still bears the consequences of that, and she is gold head to toe. Because of that, she lives behind veils. She doesn't really go out much. Then someone steals something from her father's house. That thing happens to be gold, and wouldn't you know it, Cora can sense where gold is. So she embarks on an adventure to find this thing and discovers not everything is as it seems. Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre is about Ismay, and she escapes an arranged marriage and ends up going to a convent where she figures out the god of death has gifted her and she can kill people. She starts being trained as an assassin, but on her first assignment starts falling in love with the very person she's supposed to kill. I'm sure there's a lot of drama there, and I'm excited for it. Pick which book I should read. Pick it now. Okay, we're moving on. The next category is Pirates vs. Zombies, because that's what these books are about. It's Dread Nation vs. Seafire. Dread Nation is by Justina Ireland, and it's about zombies. This book is about Jane, who lives in an 1800s America where African American and Native American children are trained in combat to basically fight zombies. Jane is currently at a really good school, but she doesn't want to stay there. She wants to go home, but then families in her area start going missing, and I'm guessing some fingers are pointing pointed in her direction. Sounds very intriguing, very exciting. Sea Fire by Natalie C. Parker is about a group of women pirates. When Caledonia's family is killed by Eric, she ends up building her own crew of women who have lost families just like she has, and they are pirates on the open sea. Their main goal is to kill Eric, to take him down. She thinks this is a great plan until her best friend is almost killed, but is not, thanks to one of Eric's men wanting to defect, and she's like, should he join us? Is he gonna help us, or is he here to double cross us? And that's what the book is about. Lady pirates, that's all I gotta say. So vote in the poll, pick which book you want me to read before we move on. And we're moving on to the next section, which is contemporary. We've got Leah on the Offbeat versus Running with Lions. Leah on the Offbeat by Becky Albertalli is about Leah, who is from Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda. This is her story, is a companion novel. Leah feels very left out in her group of friends. She's very self-conscious. She has a lot of things that she likes, that she's good at, that she's discovering about herself, including her bisexuality, but none of her friends know. And then her friend group starts to crumble, which obviously causes a lot of tension in her life, and that brings some new things into her life and new discoveries. I kind of know what happens in this book, but I've had it and I just haven't read it, so now is the time. Running with Lions by Julian Winters is about a group of soccer boys. Sebastian's entering his senior year, he's on an awesome soccer team, and he's ready to win and to take down some other teams. Then his estranged best friend Amir shows up and he's like, oh crap, this guy hates me. But he really needs to make things right with him so they can all be a team, and when they start getting to know each other again, there's maybe something more than friendship there. Time to vote on these contemporaries, which both have main characters of different sexualities, so vote now. Vote before it's too late, and voting has closed. But if you missed a poll, you can go back and vote. It's okay. I'm hoping to film a reading vlog in Hawaii, which will feature all of these choices. I've never really been into reading vlogs, but since I'm doing something exciting, only makes sense to film one, you know? Might just be a lot of pretty shots of Hawaii, but I'll talk about the books too. Let me know if you like this video down below. It's kind of a different thing for me. And if you have any other ideas for videos for me, feel free to leave them in the comments. I will always take your suggestions. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Yeah, excuse you.